Hey guys, welcome back to the Pauper Metagame. It's time for a little bit of a news update. This is kind of old news, but it's very important to Pauper, so I wanted to be sure and have a little snippet on the channel to recognize that Starcitygames is now going to start hosting Pauper side events. So this is important for a few different reasons. Number one, we want to keep our eyes on the big number one goal for Pauper, which is for Pauper to become a fully sanctioned, fully recognized format in paper. It's already basically a recognized format in Magic Online, but we need to get the same thing in paper so we can really get the format going strong and continue to see growth in Pauper in the long run. Anyway, we already have Channelfireball Grand Prix side events. That was a huge first step. Now having Starcitygames pick up and acknowledge Pauper for side events is really a big thing, because Starcitygames events are really getting to be a pretty big deal. The streaming content that Starcitygames puts out there for the coverage of their events, I think a lot of people enjoy and would consider to even rival the content that's put out there by Wizards. And I know when it comes to the streaming content for Magic the Gathering, it's nothing compared to the streaming content that's put out and seen by people in a lot of other games. I know that, Magic content may only get thousands, like, maybe 50,000 viewers is a lot for Magic, whereas that's like a drop in the bucket for, some of the big time shooter games out there. But anyway, I digress. So this is the upcoming Atlanta Open weekend, April the 28th and 29th. I'm recording this on the 26th of April. And one of the things I wanted to point out is that there's going to be a few larger events. So they have these things called classic events. These are basically full-blown tournaments with top eights. And so they have prize payouts all the way out to the top 32. We don't have a Pauper Classic yet, so I'm hoping that the side events will do well enough that Starcitygames might even consider adding a Pauper Classic, because that would be really fantastic. So, if this is something that's going to be in your area, if you're in the Atlanta area, then, show up, play a little bit, and whoever's there running the events, mention to them that you want to see a Pauper Classic. And if there's enough support for it, I'm sure Starcitygames would eventually do it. I think this could be our next big inroad. I don't expect to be able to get a Pauper Grand Prix anytime soon. That's probably a little too ambitious. I doubt Starcitygames would have a regular open, a main event basically for Pauper. But this is the next step down. So this is the next goal, is having a Pauper Classic, it's sort of a side event, but it's also a major side event. So that's where we want to go next. What we have right now, which is still great, is we have these side events, which were in the past mostly standard and modern and legacy, but now they've got Pauper Challenge and Pauper Turbo events. So all the turbo events, whether it's Pauper, Modern, Legacy, whatever, these are all basically one-round events where the winner gets a prize. And then the challenges are 4-round Swiss. So that's what we have. One of the reasons why it would be really nice to be able to get a classic event is because while this is a huge development just in terms of the overall support for the format, it's not really going to give us any real meaningful or useful data, because some random 4-round Swisses and some singleton match results aren't really going to give us any useful data. If we were actually getting, a classic result where you've got maybe 100 players showing up and playing in an event, and then we could check out the top 8 to see what we got from that, that would be really useful information for everybody. We don't have any major big regular Pauper tournaments in paper that are being reported and posted on MTG Goldfish from paper sources. We just have the Pauper Challenge from Magic Online. But anyway, even though we're not there yet, this is a huge thing. Now Pauper is basically recognized by the two biggest players in the game right now, which is Channelfireball and now with Starcitygames. This is just another step of momentum. So from here, the next thing again is for Pauper to pick up a classic. After that, I think if things go well enough, that could be the turning point where Wizards of the Coast finally acknowledges and sanctions Pauper. And after that, we actually could see a Grand Prix. And somewhere in there, I don't think it's crazy if the format's doing well and it's popular. I think Starcitygames would definitely be willing at some point to do a main event open for Pauper as well. But who knows? Who knows where things will go next? But this is another step. It's a milestone. It's an important place that we had to get to before we could get to the ultimate goal. So now we just got to try to support these events if they're in your area, tell other people about it, and yeah, get hyped. We're going to be able to hear a little bit of Starcitygames, hype about Pauper. Also, it's worth noting that there's going to be a big SCG convention. They're calling it SCG Con. That's going to be this summer, and they actually are going to have a big Pauper event. So if you're thinking about taking a trip and doing something, and you're a big Pauper fanatic, then I would say go to SCG Con and hop in the big Pauper tournament. Because if that event gets a pretty good attendance, that could be another thing that could spike Pauper into getting its own classic at some of these other SCG events. So that's all for now. Hope you guys are having a good one. You all be safe, and may you all go 5-0 in all your leagues. Peace.